Okay, so let's talk about JSON and how can you use jQuery to get some JSON information back and forth to your server. So here we have a very simple web page, and this is what it looks like right here. And you see at the server side, I'm just serving the page, which is here. It's got nothing, just a button and a div there with nothing in there right now. So what I want to do is I want to get some JSON information back from the server and then displayed at the JavaScript. So first, let's talk about what JSON is, and let me just show you. And here we are in the JavaScript console. If you type JSON dot parse, it will parse a JSON object. So a JSON is the Java serialized object notation. It's nothing more than object literal. And so we have, for example, an object A is name is Bob, age 55, and there's Bob. He's an object. He's a serialized object. We can use, well, we're gonna have to use the other one, JSON stringify, to turn A into a string. So JSON stringify will take an object A and turn it into a string. You see? Here is the string representation of that object A. And then JSON parse does the opposite. Let me show you. So JSON.parse, like we just did there, it took an empty object and turn it into an object. So I'm just going to do another one here. JSON name Bob. He's just going to have a name now, like that. Nope. Oops. Double quote. Double quote. There we go. So gotta be careful with those quotes. So when I call JSON parse, it created an object that has a key and a property name value Bob. And we'll call that O, right? So now O is an object, just as before. Okay, so back to JavaScript. So what I want to do is I want to go and get, I'm going to have a little button here. And let's say that when the user presses that button, we do a GET request, an Ajax GET request. So $, what's the name of the button? Is get it button. Get it button on click and call handle click, which I'm going to define here. And so when the user clicks on that, I'm going to do an Ajax request to slash, and we are going to send in what type is it going to be. First of all, it's going to be a get. It's going to be a get request, and I'm going to send it though some data. I'm going to send this some data. It's going to say format is JSON. So when the user clicks on the get it button, we call handle click. Handle click is going to do a get on slash, but it's going to pass format JSON as an argument to that. Let's see if that works. I'm going to reload the page, get it, check the network tab. See, we did a get to slash, and then we pass the parameter format equals JSON. There it is again, and our response is, well, the whole page. But that works. So we got the message to the server. Now let's fix the server so it returns some JSON. So here's the server, and we get the slash here. So the first thing we have to say is, so this get is going to do double duty, right? So get, if I say get slash, then it's, I'll write it out. It's slash then return HTML if slash question mark format equals JSON, return JSON. Now you could do this, using if this was like a different URL, like say, item 123. You could say, well, item 123 returns HTML, while item 123.json returns JSON. You could do it either way, however you want it. These are the two sort of more standard ways of doing it. So if self.request.get format fmt equals JSON, then we want to return JSON. Now, okay, how do I return JSON? Self.response.out.write. I could write an actual JSON string here. But so the reality is, in a big program, the JSON you're trying to return is actually going to be a representation of some data structures that you have, in your database and so forth. So this being Python, it's probably going to be a dictionary, right? Just like template values is a dictionary, maybe you want to return this data dictionary. And in Python, the Python dictionary, you might have noticed, it is very, very similar to a JavaScript object, right? They're almost exactly the same thing. So that's nice, right? So we can say data name colon Bob. Now, one thing you notice that is different is like, you see, if I did just data name Bob, like I can do in JavaScript, that is Python doesn't like that. So you can do that in JavaScript, as we did over here. Data format JSON, see, I don't have to put any quotes around the format, and JavaScript doesn't care, or around the type. Python does. So Python, it says, no, keys have to be in quotes. So we put them in quotes. Now, but so you're going to have some big data structure here, and you're going to need to turn that into a string to send back to the server, but it has to be a JSON string. How do you do that? That is where import JSON comes in. Right, so that is the Python library for converting from dictionaries to objects. So you say import JSON, and then it's JSON dot dumps. Now, very attractive, I know. Well, first let me define a JSON dictionary. So a name is Bob. There's my dictionary, and if I say JSON.dumps a, it dumps it as a string, right? So it takes any Python dictionary and other things, and it turns them into a JSON string. Very nice. And the opposite is JSON.stringify, right? No, sorry. See, I got confused already. Loads. So it's dumps and loads. So in Python, JSON dumps and loads. In JavaScript, you got to stringify, and JavaScript JSON dot stringifies and parses. So loads and dumps, stringifies and parses. Fun stuff. Okay, so data. Okay, so now I want to write that. So all I have to do is say JSON dot dump as a string my data, and return, and I'm done. Well, that would be okay. So let me just try that just to see, make sure this works. When I hit get it, I got a network tab here. Get it. Okay, localhost, and the response was name Bob. Awesome. But one thing you notice, if you look at the headers of my response, it says the content type is text/HTML. You don't want that. You want, actually, because this is not HTML, we are returning JSON, so this should be text/JSON. So let's fix that. You can fix that with cell response dot header the out dot headers text/JSON. Is that right? It's text/HTML, and then it's content type is the header we want to check. Content type. That's how you do that. I think, let me see. I'm going to reload that, get it. Content type, text, JSON. Okay, awesome. So now we're returning JSON back to our JavaScript. And here it is. And you see, well, we don't have a success, so let's put in a success method here. Show data. So when we get a response back, we're going to call show data, function show data, and that's my data there. Whoops. And what I want to do is console log data, just to print it out, see if that works. Check that out. Reload, get it. And now my console, it shows me object name Bob. Awesome. And that was what I sent, right? Let's give him an age. So I sent that back, and it displayed correctly. And also notice, I can also say data dot name, reload, get it, and it prints out Bob. Right? So what I'm getting here is the data is already being parsed, so I didn't have to call JSON dot parse, right? Because basically jQuery did that for me, because jQuery noticed that the return type that I set the return type on my here to the content type to text.json. So jQuery noticed, oh, this is JSON, so I'm gonna parse it as JSON and give that back to the function. If you didn't have this, it wouldn't work, right? So if I comment that out, save, try it again, click get it, and I'm gonna get undefined because data is actually a string in that case that I'm getting back. And so if this data is a string, that string.name is undefined. So be careful with that. So that's another reason why you want to do this right first time. Okay, so that's how we get into data now. Normally you would just actually put that data somewhere. So on where is our result? On result.html, we're going to put that data there, data name. So we can pick the name, we're going to ignore the age, reload, get it, and there's Bob. And we don't have to do the age. Okay, so that's most of it. That's basically it, right? You're just doing gets with either a format JSON, or you might do a get, one.json, however you want to do that. And then if you remember to return the content type of JSON, it'll get parsed. Now, why might you want to do this? So another thing, you might want to do is, instead of doing this, the click button, which I did that for a show, what you actually do in real life is just when document is ready, handle click, right? So Now when I go to this page, I reload and boom, I get Bob, right? I'm reloading, I get Bob. So basically, when I reload, it reloads the whole page, then an Ajax request goes out, gets the JSON, my JavaScript processes the JSON and puts the Bob in here. Why would you want to do that? Well, because this data then, a thing you might do is create a global variable var the data, and then the data equals data. And now you have this global variable here, which is the model, right? So if you're doing sort of a model view controller at the client controller, this would be your model. And then you can implement other functions that change this model, which is your object, and then send it back with Ajax request to the server, or fetch new versions from the server. So the main reason is you might want to do this is because if your data is very dynamic, right? So this is something that the user is going to be changing a lot. You want to be able to load it from the server, display it, and then be able to change it on the client, and save it back to the server. And every now and then, maybe you want to download it from the server. So it separates the model from the rest of your stuff.